What is radical self-expression? Radical self-expression, in 4 words, the now what process. More specifically, the soul work and strategies involved in the process of moving away from fear and overthinking into the authentic and deliberate restructuring of something important in your life. The now what process is what happens after your aha moment. It's changing your entire environment by starting with a single step of asking yourself, now what? And taking action to find the best answers to that question. I've experienced this breakup. I've left this job. I've had this vision. I've started facing my emotional baggage. I've lost this or I've gained that. I've recommitted to my health. Now what? What do I do with what I want now? And how do I create structure around what I know I want most? The soul work and strategies involved in that process, that is the journey of radical self-expression. What does radical self-expression look like in real life? Phase 1. Radical self-expression work is environmental work. All of us, as sentient beings, understand ourselves within the context of the environments we live in, who we talk to each day, what we do with our waking hours, what thoughts and ideas are introduced into our brains most often. All of those things are what influence our choices, our actions, our views of ourselves and the world. Radical self-expression work is environmental work because environment dictates outcome. You see, I can't take an ackee seed from this tree in Trelawney, Jamaica, and try to plant them in my mother's yard in Atlanta, Georgia. The soil is different. The temperatures are different. The energy is different. Seeds from the ackee tree that thrives in Trelawney, Jamaica will die in Atlanta, Georgia. It'll die in that environment. Likewise, a flourishing apple tree in Portland, Oregon will die in Kingston, Jamaica. The Kingston environment for that apple tree would bring a slow and certain death. The environment, your environment, is either facilitating your growth or contributing to your stagnation and ultimately your death. The death of your dreams, the death of your drive, the death of your determination. Now, certainly we all die, but not all of us will grow. That's optional. It's conditional. It's environmental. So when we practice radical self-expression, we're deliberately and meticulously examining our environment, external and internal, to see where there's a lack of growth. We dig, we question, we set a myopic goal of clarity, just clarity. And that's the first phase. Phase 1, excavation. Phase 2, welling. Verb, to rise to the surface, ready to flow, or to rise or surge from an inner source. Once we dig, question, and begin to recognize our own patterns and start to name and define our needs, which we do in phase 1, we use what we learn in that excavation phase to create an understanding and to drink from our own wells. This is where we start to shed the skin of everything that has been piled upon us as children, as people in careers or relationships that really didn't serve who we actually are. This is where we really begin to see the clear difference between who we've been and who we are becoming. We discover our own wells and we drink from them. For some people, that looks like a rejection of their religious or spiritual upbringing. For others, that looks like a reconnection to their religious or spiritual upbringing. For some, it looks like leaving their good jobs with benefits to start their own businesses. For others, it looks like going back into the workforce with a new perspective and a real sense of confidence. For some people, it looks like a major life shift, getting divorced, moving to a new city, having a baby, or letting go of a toxic friendship. For others, it's a subtle shift, like deciding not to shave your legs anymore, or wearing your hair in its natural state, or investing in a personal trainer. The main difference between the dig of excavation and the drinking from your own well is decisive action. Action is important because movement or action is measurable. So when you're in phase 1, your internal environment is the focal point of the work. When you're in phase 2, you're using what you learned in phase 1 to reconnect with your you-ness. You're making clear distinctions between who you became as a result of your circumstances and who you are now becoming as a result of your understanding of yourself. Now, you not only know what you feel, you start to understand what you can do to walk yourself towards how you want to feel and what you want to accomplish. And you recognize that it involves taking action so that your plan, your strategy can take form. And then we move into phase 3, expression. We're often taught that in order to do well or be happy in life, we've got to do 2 things: have a plan and take action. Having a plan, a strategy, is what we consider to be the smartest and safest way to approach a thing. That might work in classrooms or other controlled environments, but in real life, that sometimes complicated, rarely black and white life, our plan has to be part of a process. It can't be this standalone idea based on some research and a deep desire or someone else's perspective or experience. If that worked, anything we planned for, we would get, right? Simply because we had a plan and we took action. But you and I know that it takes so much more than that. So many of us spend our lives trying to fit ourselves into a plan, whether it's a plan we made for ourselves or a plan someone else set in motion for our lives, like a parent or a teacher or an employer, or some combination of the two, where we're on a path that we love in some ways, but we're not fully ourselves on that path. We became who we felt we needed to be at some point, but now we're ready to define ourselves based on what resonates with us today, what we need now, and again, who we are becoming. When we put energy and life force into plans that don't work out, it gets harder to put our whole selves into another plan. I've been there. And as resilient as I am, I've still had my bouts with despondency and depression from feeling like I failed myself, or like I just can't quite get what I want out of my life. I get stuck in my circumstance and caught up in being busy, but not necessarily fulfilled. But when I work this practice, I work with the real me. I create a structure for myself and my life that has a built-in mechanism that will hurt like hell when I go too far from myself and feel really good when I'm in alignment with the woman I am becoming. I free myself from the danger of spending more years defining and refining the person I am in circumstance instead of the person that I actually am in spirit, in soul. So in radical self-expression, you get to work with yourself, your authentic self, and you get a better understanding of your you-ness. Radical self-expression is the exploration and reclaiming of that you-ness. Through the practice, you discover the art of deep self-study, including your natural patterns, your environment, your core values, and the ability to express and protect what you need. The skill in radical self-expression is in learning how to cultivate your intuition, and not only to recognize it, but allow it to serve you in your strategies, in your plans. In radical self-expression work, this is what we do consistently. We breathe deeper. We become more present. We assess all of our environments. We embrace the art of planning. We define success on our own terms. We name our emotions. We partner with our intuition. We find accountability partners. We practice saying no and meaning it. We learn what it means to really trust ourselves. We form and maintain healthy relationships. We become our own best ally and our strongest supporter. In essence, we take these 5 deliberate and highly personalized steps. 1, we make a series of assessments. 2, we process what we discover. 3, we take action based on that assessment. 4, we make more analytical assessments, bring in more soul work, talk about our feelings, feel through them and our outcomes. And then 5, we use what we learn to refine the plan. Breathe, pay attention, decide, do, define, do more, refine, do more. And eventually, your life becomes a series of commitments, some small, some large, that you can measure, define, and refine so that you're building your life and owning your voice based on who you actually are and how you actually want to feel. You reclaim yourself, one action at a time, and you build confidence in your ability to be there for yourself, to understand yourself, to take action based on who you are becoming, and to be yours before you are ever anyone else's.